Hello everyone. We have two very powerful names as guests tonight. So I wanted to tackle a subject of interest that sort of merges these guests, personalities, and games as well. How long do we think a game life game lives for how long we think a game lives for in these days? We live in a market where there's games that survive for a very brief amount of time, and some of the games are actually staying with us for a very long time. It depends usually about what type of game it is, of course, and in strategy games we tend to have games that last for a very long time. It's brands, it's IPs, it's franchises, and they tend to stay around so that we get to know them very well. They become our thing, right? Ideally, some of them, we'll see later as well. They stay around for 25 years, 30 years, as you guys probably know. It's a long time in general, but as an industry in the video games market, it's generations. It's like 25, 30 years. How many consoles are releasing in this amount of time? It's a very long time. These games are kind of living creatures. They change all the time, and because they have to stand the test of time, they have to confront with the changing industry, changing technology. They have to please communities all the time. They have to keep selling and keep the sort of this relationship with players, and to keep the momentum going. While staying true to themselves, they need to change a lot too. It's this exercise is very difficult. And I'm talking about community members or existing players who are really sort of so attached to it that they sort of expect something to happen, but also. And of course, complain when something is not happening, and also new players expecting to play something that is new and fresh, not old and rooted too much in the past. It's a bit like Theseus paradox. Is sort of how many, is an object that you have changed all the parts of going to be the same after all these parts have changed? Is it going to be the same thing? Well, we are absolutely here to discuss. So welcome to a new episode of The Hot Seat. So I said we have very important guests. You have seen from the theme titles. We have very important guests today. So I want to sort of keep the news section as brief and to the point as possible, so that we have more time to spend with our guests. Last episode we discussed Steam Next Fest. We were focused on finding what is new and what was interesting coming out of this year's Next Fest, of February's Next Fest. We've looked at some numbers, but by far the game that made all the news in the strategy gaming world has been Tabletop Tavern. The developers have announced that they had over 67,000 wish lists coming out of Next Fest, which is a lot. I guarantee it's a lot. To give you a comparison, the third most played game during Next Fest was our own Battle Plan, and we've had about 30,000 wish lists coming out of that of the Next Fest. So just a good comparison, to give you an idea of where and how much traction you gain from this event. So, Tabletop Tavern is releasing this year. Looking forward to that. check it out. It's just a great spin on the theme of turn-based games as to actually playing with miniatures. So it's really cool, and of course it speaks to a lot of our audience as a Slitherine as well. So we're very much in anticipation for that game. Interestingly enough, the start of March has been focused on a genre, the automation sim genre. We've had 2 games in that area releasing out of early access. Desynced released on March 5th, the 1.0 version of Desynced. The game has been around for some time in early access. It released out of early access with very, very solid reviews. Great game, very kind of very interesting because not very repetitive as for the specific genre. It tends to be very fresh every time you play it. So it's really good, really good game. Also on the side, a day later, Heart of the Machine released on March 6th. Kind of, in the same part. It's interesting to see how this genre is exploding over the last 6 to 12 months. Many games have released, sort of Factorio style type game, where you have a lot of these games releasing. It's interesting also to see where it's going to go, because there's only so much innovation you can bring to these types of games when you're like into the sort of vertical segment of that market. But interesting one to watch for sure. On March 16th, there has been a release of the first DLC for The King is Watching, Crowns of History. First DLC for the game. I mean, a game that I don't really need to present. It's been a big success. This DLC also introduces queens, so it's going to be interesting to see where this goes. Released on 16th of March. Check it out as well. Also out of early access on the 17th, we had Going Medieval. Interestingly to see that in general on the strategy gaming segment, but also in the wider market, the Middle Ages are having a big revival. I guess it's not thanks to Manor Lords and Kingdom Come Deliverance. Of course, these games were in development well before that, but you can see there's a lot growing interest towards the subject, and the interest towards the subject is expanding the market horizontally across all genre in this segment as well. So that's interesting for sure. Our friends at Tindalos are releasing their game Ever Siege Untold Ages on, I think it's tomorrow now, with Dear Villagers as publishers. Again, this was a game that was in the Steam Next Fest. Did very, very well. It's a great game, so happy to see this game releasing. And can't wait to play it. And good luck to the Tindalos guys. Tindalos, of course, popular for Alien, Dark Descent, and the Battlefleet Gothic Armada series. So definitely a very good resume. On the 26th of March, again, we had the release of Nova Roma, a new city builder from Hooded Horse. Looking forward to this one as well. It's interesting again, Anno releasing Christmas last year. Now this one, again, a subject that doesn't stop being very interesting to people, and players really like the flavor of ancient Rome and such. So this game is very interesting because it adds a lot of very interesting mechanics. Also, a lot more depth to some of the city building elements, which is very good for a game based on ancient Rome. And last one, we've announced there was an announcement for the new DLC for Victoria 3, The Great Wave, from the look of it, very much based on naval systems. You can see a lot of the key art, love the key art with his dreadnoughts there, and looking forward to see how this one goes. Victoria 3 is by far I guess the most underrated of Paradox's games. I really, really, really think it should have more prominence because it's really good, and getting more content to play with is going to be amazing. The other thing is, of course, because we have a very special guest today. Important to say that in beginning of March this year, Cities Skylines had its 11th anniversary. It's interesting because before Cities Skylines, very, very few city builders were releasing. After that, we had a rebirth of a genre. And this is also one of the topics I want to talk about. I want to talk about today with my guest. So, without further ado, let's give it a bit of an ad and then welcome our first guest. All right, so my first guest today is the CEO of Colossal Order, Mariina Hallikainen. Did I get it right?
Close enough.
Good, close enough. That's good. That's the purpose, really. Hello, welcome to our show, Mariina.
Thank you so much. Happy to be here.
Thanks for joining us. I'll go straight to the point, and interestingly enough, you recently had the celebration of the 11th anniversary. Colossal Order started off, it still is, but started off as a small company, right?
Yes.
When you started, where were your ambitions? Where did you aim?
Well, certainly creating a city builder was always the dream. That was something that we absolutely founded the company with the idea that we one day want to make a spiritual successor to SimCity 4. That was the dream, and when we started, we were only 5 people, so we knew that we wouldn't be able to take on such a big task. So we created cities in motion games, mass transit simulators, and then in 2013 we got the opportunity to start working on a city builder that became City Skylines.
With a much larger team.
Well, we were 9 people, yes. So a much larger team indeed. So it was definitely an ambitious project.
What are the key challenges of making such a complex game when you're 9 people? I guess there's many challenges, but what are the key things that make this task more complex?
I think for a city builder, there are just so many different systems, and you have to have all of the systems in place before you can actually truly understand if the game is good or not. It takes a lot of time and effort, and it's something that I think in honesty, if we knew how big the task was, we probably would have been too afraid to take it on. So it was good that we were quite young and very ambitious, and just took it on head first. And I think one of the things is that we had the vision for the game, and there were so many things we wanted to have in it, but we just basically decided to focus on the most important part for the release, and then obviously continued working on it after.
Yeah, which is impressive. I mean, Cities is blown out of proportion in terms of sales and reach and everything. How much of it was organic and like grew over time, and how much of it was like, oh, wow, guys, this is completely out of hand?
I think it felt like it went completely out of hand in the beginning. The game came out, as you said, 11 years ago, and we had the internal target that maybe 300,000 copies sold. That would be an excellent target. I think the first week was half a million copies. The first month, 1 million copies. At that point, it was completely out of hand. I'm not going to lie, we were quite overwhelmed with all the requests, and then it was just about building from that momentum. And I think for City Skylines, it never kind of slowed down. It just kept going.
It's interesting because you said 300,000, 500,000, a million. These are all big numbers.
Yes.
Especially for a game that's very community based, right? You from the get-go you started having a lot of feedback from the community, but mods as well, and modules and things. How did these relationships start and evolve over time with the community? Was it part of an integral part from the start?
Absolutely. So what we noticed with Cities in Motion, the very first game that we made, we did that with our in-house engine, and we didn't really think about modding, but we noticed that there was a lot of mods being created for the game, and we found out how important part and how it's so much fun to have it as a developer as well. So from our point of view, we definitely wanted to support modding going forward in each and every game that we develop. So for City Skylines, we actually had 2 programmers in the team. The other one was focused on the gameplay, and the other one was creating the modding tools for City Skylines. And that was a decision that we made from the very beginning, and wanted it to be so that the game is almost like a platform for the creatives. So you can actually make your own mark in the game. It was very important.
Because then at some point you started having all these mods, but then you have to make new features and DLCs for the game. How do you decide, what is up to the community to make, and picking stuff the community likes and add it to the game like officially? So
I think there were a couple. I'll give you an example. When the game came out, we quickly noticed that there was a mod on the workshop that was where you can actually change the direction of a one-way street. And we realized that this was complete oversight on our part, that of course it should be in the game, that this feature is something of a given. So that was one of the first kind of mod-inspired things that we did for the game. But it was really something that we had a very clear vision, what we wanted to add to City Skylines ourselves. And then we got a lot of great feedback and ideas from the community. So it was really like a mash of these different things that directed what kind of DLCs we would have. And when it comes to like, it wasn't what the community should be making, what we should be making, but thinking about the overall experience for the players. And I think it was very much a joint effort also with the community.
Did you have some like core pillars of the game you were like always referring to when developing, the new features and new content? Was it driven by like guts, or was it more like, all right, we cannot escape these things that we absolutely set as boundaries?
Yeah, so we had design pillars, these principles that we went by. There was definitely an important one that everything needs to be grounded in realism. We're working on a modern day city builder. Things should be something that can happen in real life. Of course, we wanted to make the features fun, but it's something that must be grounded in realism. And other thing is player freedom. So every time when it was something that, even if it wouldn't be grounded in realism, that the player can, for example, landscape freely the terrain or things like that, it was important that there is this player freedom, that the player is almost like a god in the world, deciding how things should go. So it was a balance between the different design pillars, for sure.
It's interesting because you're clashing with your creativity sometimes? Is it like did you have like meetings where somebody was saying, I want an alien invasion, or something like very weird? Or
of course, and the suggestions from the community as well. Sometimes we just had to say no. It's not a word people want to hear, but it's an important thing to stay with the vision and be true to the game.
The fact that you had a small team, or of course growing, as I guess when you started seeing all the sales and everything growing, and for managing such a live creature as well. I guess when you have a small team, big teams have like a creative director, a 3 producers, 5 designers, and so I guess it's not happening in your team. So your team members had to do sort of multiple things. Was it how's the structure there? Were you sort of taking from anyone's advice?
So at Colossal Order, one of the very important things is that every team member has a voice. It's a core pillar of our company, that it doesn't matter if you're the lead designer, or if you're working in QA, or an artist, or a programmer. If you have an idea, we want to hear it. We don't always act upon it, but there needs to be this environment where everyone can share their ideas, and creativity doesn't. It's not about your title. The creativity comes from people. So it's important for us to it's the same as with the community. We want to hear the community's ideas, players' ideas for the game, as well as from everyone in the team internally. But of course, it's something that we need to have certain roles where everything comes together. So it's when growing from the 9 people to the 28 that we are now, there were of course growth pains, and who's responsible for what, and
yeah. It's interesting also to see that a game grows with so many DLCs, but also the modding community grows as well, and you have got this thing where basically you start seeing mods and deals, or sort of mods in general, or that are like super interesting. You think, we should have thought about this. We should have made. Is that something that happened, and did you sort of borrow ideas from the community as well to make DLCs?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, modders are not restricted with work hours or budgets or any kind of strategy or design decisions principles. So it was amazing to follow all the creativity in the community. And I'll give us an example. We actually we're working on. We had the metro in the game already, but we, based on the community wishes, we decided that we should also have it run overground. So there was already a mod that did this. So we actually contacted the creator and had a chat that how would you feel if we're working on this, and just to make sure that there is a respect between us and the creators, and it was a good conversation to have. I think that's just the communication and openness between the developers and the community needs to be there, and it's something that they were very happy that it would become a base game feature, and then we just gave them access to an early build so they could make sure that their mod all works with the game going forward as well. Okay. So a lot of collaboration, really lovely characters in the community, and it's I loved that part of the work.
There's one thing that always strikes me when you have games that last for so long. You've got to balance what you give for free, and what is paid for, right?
Sure. Yes.
That's the point.
It's a part of it. It's a part of it. Yeah.
So, because I guess what is going in for free is core structural feature of the game.
Exactly.
And
exactly.
Is that a decision that's taken within the team, or?
So what we wanted to always make sure of is that when we're adding something in a DLC, if it's some sort of a core system. It needs to be available for everyone, and then with the DLC you just get the extra content for it. So basically, for example, the very first DLC we did for City Skylines, this was 2015. The day and night cycle in the After Dark DLC was something that became obviously a base game feature. It's something that would be in our mind silly to have behind a paywall. And of course this is something that when you have to think about the business side, but also like the integrity and how the base game should grow with the DLCs, I think it's in the end it's an easy decision.
I guess, yeah. I mean, what is always the, you know, there's a relationship with the community, right? You know, I guess they understand more if you're giving more, and then, you know, and then.
Well, everyone loves free stuff, right?
Stuff,
so and more content is more content, and I think just the entire idea with the mods and modding, where it is basically players creating content for the other players, and we are not involved in that. That's not something that we monetize. It is something that is just keeping players engaged with City Skylines, and I think that's something that is a true testament to the power of community and modding, how long-lasting and what kind of sales City Skylines ended up having. It brought a lot of good to us as well. So it's really about the collaboration, and the player is the winner here, because they are getting the base game updates, more content for free, as well as some DLCs that they can choose to buy or not.
The relationship with the community goes from a qualitative perspective, right? You know, type of content, what works, what doesn't. Did you actually look at data or like figures of what people are playing, what were their behavior, any of the sort of science behind the games?
Not as much as we would have liked. I think that's something that there are really good tools for that. It's important information that can drive the design when it's done right. I don't think everything should be data driven. I think there is the room for like gut feelings and the vision and what you want to do. But for example, we added a scenario editor or scenarios and a scenario editor to City Skylines. Nobody really played it. That there was a very vocal community like discussion about it, that there should be this kind of like a mode. Of course, it's something that from the data, when we saw that it doesn't really pay off, it was discontinued in a sense that we didn't create more content to it. The editor is still there, but it's good to understand where you should put your focus in and what might not be as important.
Yeah, no, absolutely. What I find always with the communities is that, of course, you have a core part of the community that's really active, and they will always come and tell you what to do next.
Absolutely.
And very vocally.
Yes.
But you know, when you have such big games, you've got a load of players. The vast majority of players, they won't say anything in the forums or in the discords or anything. So, you know, you don't want to make the game for a small portion of vocal people. You want to make it a game for everyone else who's not really saying anything about the game.
Yeah, you have to always remember with community that it is, as you said, it's a vocal minority. There is a vast majority of the players never go on any forums. They are not contacting the developers in any shape or form. They're just enjoying the game. If they don't like it, they stop playing it. This is something that you can see from the data and use that to your advantage. For us, it really, with the community, I think understanding their needs and where they're coming from is really something that helped us decide what we want to work on. I think the best parts were where we already had a vision that we want to add something to the game, and the community is asking for it, and it validates our ideas, right? So that's definitely a positive, and but it's a balance, right? You have to remember that the community is not representing everyone, and definitely, like I said, there's a vast majority of the players that don't really voice their opinions. So understanding this helps you in the development for sure.
When you're working on a game for such a long time, is there any element of, I don't know, like fatigue or lack of enthusiasm, or just we run out of ideas. You know, how is that happening? Evolving?
Well, of course, it's a very long time to work on a game when you I mean, obviously, in the 17 years at Colossal Order, we've always kind of worked on city builders, even with the first games, and it's something that for City Skylines, the success was so that we didn't anticipate it, and we didn't even believe it kind of going forward. We always had the last DLC that was the third one, Natural Disasters, was supposed to be the last one. Then
the third one was the last one.
Yes, that was supposed to be the
Okay.
last one. Then a few DLCs later, it was the Industries DLC, the biggest one we made for the game. That was supposed to be at one time the last one, and we were supposed to move on to other games. And then again, there was the need to do more, all the way to Sunset Harbor, which already in the name kind of gives it's the last one. And then still we created more things. But we got a really nice kind of flow to creating the DLCs. As we had the community engagement, there was a lot of ideas coming from there, as well as we grew as a team. So we got a lot of enthusiastic new developers that were just pouring new ideas.
Okay.
And I think the kind of few of the last ones that we did for City Skylines were actually really, really good. The airports, I think the hotels and retreats. There were so many kind of fresh ideas that we could then work for the games or to the game. That it was very helpful to have those fresh minds.
I've got one last question. I think it's important to note that this game has sold millions of copies and has sort of entered the lives of many people. From a small team perspective in Finland, when you looking back, and do you actually realize the impact the game had in the industry and how it changed genre and all that kind of stuff?
I'm gonna be honest. We have been so focused on creating the game, working on it, developing it further, that I think for us, understanding the larger implications haven't really realized. Like, of course, every time when someone says like, "Oh, you've sold so many copies," or kind of redefined the genre, those are just, they feel a bit like absurd almost.
Okay.
I think it's the Finnish mentality. We're very humble and focused on work. So I don't. Now that we're talking about it, I mean, I'm immensely proud of what we achieved with City Skylines. I think it's something that we can look back at and be very proud. It's a wonderful thing, and I think because we love simulation games, and it's a genre that was kind of forgotten for a while. And it is wonderful to see it kind of being revived. I don't know if we were the ones kind of reviving it, but at least the end result that we have an amazing amount of really good simulation out there. The players are the winners here. So I think
I agree, and I don't know if you were the only ones reviving it, but I definitely can say for sure that you were, you played a very, very big part in reviving that genre.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Mariina, we have a game at the end of each interview, which I know you're dreading of. We have changed it slightly for you because you have 63 DLCs. We have went and browsed some of the DLCs and looked at some of the reviews. So I'm quoting review quotes from DLCs, and you have to guess which DLC it is from.
Oh no.
All right. Okay, so ready?
All right.
All right, 3, 2, 1. Focusing the DLC on zooming down the street level and getting into the nitty-gritty of placement of pretty much everything was a stroke of genius.
This sounds familiar. Which one was it?
Zooming down the street level and getting into the nitty-gritty of placement of pretty much everything.
Because is it Green Cities?
No. Park Life.
Park Life, of course, one of my favorites.
This one it increases the difficulty, introduces some pretty long, unique scenarios, and lets you feel like a malevolent god with the ability of just drop a meteor right on the city center.
Well, that's easy. That's natural disasters.
Got it. This is an absolute must-have DLC for City Skylines. It's one of the best expansion packs could be anything, to come into gaming itself in years, and it brings Skylines closer to being the ultimate only city builder you'll ever need.
This is Industries.
It is Industries.
Yes.
Good job. 2 out of 3.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for seeing us.
Thank
Mariina.
you so much for having me.
I'm going to have to give the line to our friend Paolo for a 10 minutes update on what is happening in the tabletop world, and I'll be right back.
Hi everyone, and welcome to a new episode of the Tabletop Corner. Let's start with some juicy news. Zombies arrived in Conflict 47, the Warlord Games tabletop miniature game about post-World War II. With the new Festung Europa box, you can feel more than 45 miniatures of undead warriors fighting off all the other factions of the game. And inside the box there is also the rules and 2 gigantic mech that you can unleash on the tabletop. And still from Warlord, finally the Italian army comes to the new bolt-action version of the game. The new Armies of Italy book is almost available to be bought on the shops, and it covers all the Italian armies of World War II, including the faction post-armistice. In the new big box that you can buy together with the book, there is more than 40 miniatures from the Folgore division, the paratroopers from Italy, and they also include the Carro Leggero M13 and the AB41 scout troop, so you can field a full army and begin to play immediately. Mantic Games just launched a very interesting Kickstarter. It's called Dreadball All-Star, and basically it's an American football-style game set in the far future. The teams are obviously the humans or the, let's say, aliens orcs, but also there are some teams like the Painkillers with their Ratogre throwers similar to a rat. The Kickstarter is still running, so you have a couple of weeks to participate and have the game next year. It seemed very interesting and reminds me another football-style fantasy game. And this is the week of Adepticon 2026, one of the most important tabletop shows in US. So there will be a lot of news at the end of this week, including the usual news from Games Workshop. Shall we see the new 11th edition for Warhammer 40,000? Shall we see other 2 teams for Kill Team? Stay tuned. We will report next month about all the more important and juicy news. Speaking of the next episode, we promised that this month we should have spoken about how to paint the miniature very fast and very quickly, but a series of issues forced us to move to the next month. So stay tuned. In April we will talk again about fast painting. Last episode we talked about some discounts for the Fallout games, and a lot of people asked us more details, so how can we disappoint them? This is Fallout Faction is one of the 3 games that Modiphius is doing about the Fallout franchise from Bethesda. There is the roleplay game, another tabletop that is Warfare, and Faction allows you to play quick, fast, and fun battles with your friend. Let's see what is inside the box. And there is what you find inside the box. Basically, you have anything you need to start playing with your friend. You have 20 miniatures. The faction into the box are the scavengers and the operators, the good guys. The miniatures have to be cut out from the sprue and glued together, but this allows you to give a lot of different poses. And also you have some cardboard to create your first buildings. It's very easy. and like this one where you can hide your soldiers. And also remember that there are plenty of models that you can 3D print. Also you have all the tokens and the rule set with a lot of scenarios to start. And if you like the game, a game should last around 1 hour if you know the rules. And if you like the game, also you can buy additional miniatures, new bands like the Mutants and the famed Brothers of Steel. And there is also this fantastic ruler that I love and will become my companion for all my war games with Fallout on it. Also there is the tokens for the coke, obviously, and radiation, because as you can bet, if you fight too long or with some dangerous weapons, you can get some nasty radiations. And now one of my favorite, Terraforming Mars. It's a classic. It's a game you can play with up to 5 friends. You can also play solo, but I think it works very well when you are in 4. Basically, the game is about conquering Mars, terraforming it, and building the first colonies. Terraforming Mars is not a difficult game. It appears a bit, but you can play in under 1 hour if you know the rules. Basically, the players, as we said, is from 1 to 5, needs to get the control of one of the corporations that are going to build cities and take waters on Mars. This is the map, and you can see that we already built some cities, and the problem is that you have to take in account the temperature of Mars, the temperature of Mars is here actually, the level of oxygen, and this gives you the score. Also, all is played using these cards, and this makes really the difference, because every game is different, because when you start the game, you start to invest on some specific kind of cards. The game, as I told, is a classic, and there are a lot of expansions that allows you to start with a different corporation, more, let's say, personalized, so the games are more interesting. You can colonize the rest of the solar system up to Venus. And there is also a big box that you can buy for under $200 that includes all the tokens made in 3D. But as you can see here, the love I have for this game pushed me to create the 3D printed cities and woods and also these very handy things to keep track of what are you doing in your faction. It's one of the tabletop games I really suggest you to try, especially if you have a party of 4 players that want to learn these the few rules you need to play, because it's very interesting to see how every player tries to get to the objective, to the final objective. Also, as I said, it's a game full of expansion, so if you begin to like it and you want to play something different, something more deep, you can acquire different things to add to the game. And now one of the most fun co-op games I've played in the last months, Bomb Busters. It's a game where 2 to 5 players have to disarm a bomb and play together not to explode. This game won the Game of the Year in Germany in 2025, and it really deserves it. Bomb Busters is a co-op game. You have to play together with your friends, and all of you will win or lose together. Basically, one of your friends will be the captain. He knows how to disarm the bomb. He has to say to the other players how to do this, but he can't obviously speak plainly. He has to use this kind of icons, card tokens, and you have to use logic and deduction to understand what you have to do to stop the bomb. There are these specs with all the missions, and the first missions are made to do the tutorial, so we learn while you play, so it's very fun and playable. And as you can see, there are much more missions that you can play. Obviously, do not look at the cards before doing the game, because it's a bit like cheating. And you also have this equipment card that you can use in every mission. And there is this, let's say, clock. Then, as you can understand, if it arrives on the red with the skulls, the game is finished and you have to do again the game. Every game for Bomb Busters is around half an hour once you know the rules, and I can tell you that it's very fun to play on Saturday evening with your friends. It's not a difficult game, so you can play basically with everybody. And that's all, folks. Hope you enjoyed this episode of Tabletop Corner, and see you next month. As usual, write to the email here to give us suggestions, to tell us what you liked, what you didn't, and what you want to see in the next episode. I promise next month we will see how to fast paint a miniature with some magic color, and stay tuned.
And thank you, Paolo. Lots of games this episode. Thank you very much. My next guest is the game director at Creative Assembly, Pawel Wojs.
Hello.
Pawel, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Pawel, straight to the point, we're discussing with Mariina earlier about the impact that cities Skylines had in the market. By the way, happy anniversary to you too. I mean, 25 years. 25 years in the market. That's a long time.
Yes.
What do you reckon is the impact that Total War had in the market over this amount of time?
Yeah, I mean, it's we were joking that my perspective is somewhat biased because I've spent 20 years of those 25 working on the titles. But I think, I mean, beyond the kind of sub-genre of the strategy, the combination of real-time kind of battles with turn-based kind of campaign, that kind of formula, I think, had that kind of genre kind of defining impact. But I think it's just the for me personally, what I felt really strongly about is that kind of the historical kind of impact, the cultural kind of impact of delivering history to the masses through gaming, through entertainment. I think it's it's just it's such a magical kind of combination that creates this kind of this immersive experience at scale. Yeah,
I really like the spin. I mean, cultural impact from the history perspective is really cool. I keep having discussions about are these games actually creating interest towards the subjects or movies or anything and
Absolutely. I mean, we've got a shining example. One of our senior designers is a historian who went to study history because of his discovery of Total War.
That's great.
So it's a beautiful full circle story, and I myself discovered the series through. I had a love of history, from a purely kind of, I grew up with history around me, and I discovered the games because they represented history in a way that was really engaging and got me interested in the history as well. So I think if anything we can achieve with our historical Total War is if it ignites that kind of that love, that passion for history that enables our players to seek more information, look out and read more, watch more. I think it's great. It's
really fascinating, and you've done a lot of very cool pieces of marketing assets as well, with telling history and documentary style stuff, which is really cool. And by the way, it's about videos and marketing and such. In December, you've had this celebration time, early December, which I thought was very well executed, by the way. So congratulations on that. And you had sort of two big announcements, right? Total War, Warhammer 40K, which was sort of expected, I guess. We were always looking for it, and then you had this announcement of Medieval 3, very early on, very early on, and a very different way of developing a game for you guys. Why did you decide that? What was the reason behind it?
So we really wanted to celebrate kind of our legacy and the legacy of Total War, and we throughout the whole year we were kind of building up to the event, playing all the titles, and we wanted to recognize our entire community. So with the 40K announcement, we were speaking to those fans, but we also wanted to kind of speak to our historical fans, and because we obviously we were working on Medieval 3, and it's the most wanted historical Total War title from our community, from us internally as well. Med 3 When was such a meme. We just wanted to announce it because we wanted to talk about it. We wanted to tell our community that, look, we're making this game. And most importantly, we wanted to invite the community to kind of peek behind the curtain and see how it's made and have a voice.
Because, and it's great to see that there has been a strong positive reaction to it, because, of course, first thing, it's never going to release, it's going to be like 20, 35, whatever. But after this moment of discovery, that there was there's now a following, so actively contributing to the game's development, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And we it was funny when we announced it. A lot of the feedback was, it's just it's a poster on a wall. It's just an idea. There's nothing there. It's like, no, we've got a game, which is why we streamed straight away soon after, because we wanted to. We've never before have we shown pre-production code or any assets really. So it's really completely new ground for us. This is but something that we really want to do, because we want to. This is a game that's so close to everybody's heart, that we want to make sure that we're including the community voice in doing it. And also, we've got a clear vision. We know exactly what we want to do with this game, and we want to bring the community on with us and show them our thinking. This is why what we're thinking. This is why we're doing it, and adapting along the way. Seeing the feedback, seeing the key topics of conversations that are happening within the forums, and we read everything. We read every single post, and then we respond to those key areas just to kind of provide our perspective. This is where we're coming from. This is what we're thinking about this, and absolutely incorporating the feedback from the community as well.
I was mentioning in the opening, this is a bit like, interestingly enough, the Total War is in a show today. It's a bit like Theseus paradox. So you've got a boat, and you slowly over time you change all the bits of the boat, and is the new boat the same thing as the is it still the same boat or not, right? Do you feel like Total War has changed but not changed over time? What are the core values that are kept alive over 25 years of history?
Yeah, I mean, it changes, depending on the title, depending on whether it's fantasy or historical. We do have core pillars, that underpin everything that we do. Those are, scale, authenticity, immersion, everything stems from those. And then each game has its own kind of pillars that define what that game is. So it's such a it's such a challenge though with every new release. Such a long-standing series with so many kind of staple features, in different titles. Trying to decide what makes it to the next one, within the time, and is definitely a challenge. So yeah, the ship changes and it morphs, but depending on the context, on the setting, on the seas it's sailing on, right? It has to adapt and change. But it's something that and often for the past in our long history, we've very much been at the at the mercy of the previous title and the way we branched from title to title. How Attila followed on from Rome 2, Three Kingdoms followed on from Warhammer 2. So we were kind of, what we're trying to do now is create a way of making Total War that can share more and building blocks that are more transferable.
When you make a game like Medieval 3, when was Medieval 2 released?
About 20 years ago.
20 years ago.
2006.
Right. Wow. Well, okay. So, I mean, that's a long time ago. So 20 years ago, I guess you're taking with you in this journey people who played Medieval 2 and have fond memories of it, and probably don't even remember what those game was, but more like the emotions that they had through playing the game. And also, you have to sort of welcome new players or people who are used to play or playing Three Kingdoms or Attila or other games. How do you speak to the old community of Medieval 2 players, but also address the new audience?
Well, this is the challenge, and but it's exactly what we're setting out to do with Medieval 3. The whole point of the rebirth of historical is building on that legacy. We're very familiar with what made Medieval 2 good. I worked on Medieval 2. That was my first title when I joined a Creative Assembly. So, it's about, but again, recreating it just baseline as it was is not is, that's not what, would not make a good game. Without the nostalgia and rose-tinted spectacles, it would not stand up to modern Total War. So it's taking the elements that we feel were really, really strong and worked really well, be it slotless construction or upgrades on units, all of that stuff, all the stuff that we know that our community, really values, and seeing how that can fit within the new kind of vision for Medieval 3, but also looking at what was good about, in Shogun 2, in Empire, in Rome 2, and all of the games leading up to now. It's about and also innovating, right? Also looking to the future and seeing, what are the things that we've always wanted to do but weren't able to do because of technological constraints, or again dealing with the kind of the cycle of development. But now we have the flexibility to kind of rebuild some of those foundational features from scratch. How would we do it now with everything that we've learned over the past 25 years? So yeah, it's so yeah, to answer your question, not easily.
Yeah, no. And on top of it, you're also redoing the engine, right?
Yeah, well, that's right. We're kind of building the Warcore engine in a way that's more sustainable and can service the games that we're making. So a lot of the things we're redoing from the ground up, which again, like I say, gives us that flexibility. But also based what do we choose? How do we what makes it? Again, this is why we're engaging our communities. We're learning to see what's important to them. What do they like about past titles? What do they hate about the past titles? How can we adjust and kind of position what we're doing now to speak to that?
It's interesting you say about this involvement of the community, because usually community drives your decisions after a game is launched. Like, all right, you should do this, you should do this, or change this feature. This feature doesn't work very well, and so on. You're like involving the community earlier on. Is there a risk, you think, of being led into wrong directions?
There's definitely a risk, I think, but the way I think Roger, our VP, put it well recently, that you need to have a team with egos big enough to know that we're right, in the sense that we have a clear vision, we know exactly what we want to do. So it's less of a 1,000 cooks. It's more about being very clear in what we're doing, communicating that, and obviously there's room, there's wiggle room. It's a case of prioritization. What's more important. We want to do it all. We can't obviously do it all. So it's about where we put the focus. In my experience as a developer over the years, whenever we've engaged community in the past, it's been at a point where relatively straightforward feedback we could have done if we'd have known sooner, but it was too late by that point.
All right.
So part of this initiative is making sure that we have that involvement early on. We're showing the game, we're lifting the veil, showing how guts and all how a Total War game is made, to kind of to really try and deliver a game that is so. The expectations are so high.
Is there that element of sort of expectation management as well?
I think absolutely.
I'm going to explain you what we're doing, so you not expect this to be this or that.
It's more of a kind of, I guess, a transparency to our decision making. It's providing context that ordinarily we wouldn't be able to do, but it's kind of showing our working. This is why we think this can work, and then genuinely listen to the feedback and seeing what people think. I think it's very important to kind of it's great. It's a great opportunity for us to be able to be transparent about how we're approaching the different decisions, the different features, and different kind of mechanics. I think it's great.
In the process, again, talking to Mariina earlier on, in your community, of course, you've got the very, very core of your audience, right? But you don't want to ignore the many millions of people who are going to be your customers in the end, and don't really care about giving feedback because they'll play. They trust you to make a good game, right?
Yep.
How do you deal with that?
Well, we going back to us, being the vision holders and knowing what we intend to do. I mean, that's the case. We're looking at player experience, player value, and determining our decisions on a big level. But we also, alongside this, our community engagement, with this kind of approach. We also have our more traditional kind of means of consumer testing and all the kind of UX testing, all the kind of stuff that we not ordinarily do to have a wider reach. But also through what we're looking at is we're in pre-production. So we're aiming to grow the community over time with more kind of as we stream more, as we show more. We're doing blogs which have a much wider reach that can kind of we saw some really interesting our community on Reddit kind of feeding back on some of the things that we've been talking about over the past few months on the forums and treating it as news because the blog kind of reached them. So and we also had really positive engagement with content creators. Basically creating content from the streams that we're making, kind of again reaching a wider audience. So it's hopefully we can grow the community over time and get more voices feeding back and engaging with the process because this isn't marketing exercise. This is a genuine desire to engage with our community on the title they want the most.
In terms of the team in a game like Total War, you're redoing your tech. You're going console as well, which is another subject we'll cover as well. But there's art, the design. In a game like Total War, what leads? Is it more design? Is it more tech? Is it
player experience? It's the player experience. It's the experience. So you could say it's the history for historical Total Wars. Is the history, so the design, but it's collaborative. It depends on the context, but it's a collaboration. It's a creative leadership. That kind of focuses on the play experience, the values of the experience of the player. So it's it's derived from the history, which then is the design and direction, and then but it's collaborative. I think it's a very collaborative process.
In terms of we said player experience is going to be is the core. So trying to approach consoles, is it going to be an opportunity, a limitation, both? What are the challenges there?
I mean, the challenges are great, of course, but I think it's definitely an opportunity because it allows for it challenges us to do things that are clearer, more for example, the mouse and keyboard is not the most approachable to new players. The moment you jump into battle with a gamepad, with a controller, it's straight away it makes sense to someone that isn't familiar, but it can't be to the detriment of the PC experience. So it kind of forces us to think about elements more in the 3D space rather than leveraging UI as much. It's about finding the right balance, but it has to work on both platforms.
In the pipeline you've got, 40K first and Medieval 3. Are you going to? Is there an element of 40K is going to experiment on stuff that we're going to implement on Medieval if they work, or is there?
We're going to share. The part of this kind of new approach of developing our games is sharing as much as we can, so we can seeing what works and then building on that and moving forward. So yeah, absolutely, where relevant.
I was saying earlier, Manor Lords, Kingdom Come, a lot of sort of getting back to Middle Ages, right?
Yeah. It's interesting. Yeah. We were discussing this the other day, that when the world is in strife, people look to escape to the medieval, which for me it's I love it. I'm currently playing Manor Lords and Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, and always it's great. So it's great to see, because it's hopefully reigniting the kind of interest in the medieval for those that maybe weren't as exposed to it, and hopefully they can find their way to us and see how we're building the game.
I'll have a final personal question, because of curiosity. How do you do research for a game this big and this detailed as well? Is it more like overall flavor and then getting it right through proof, or is it more like, all right, this happened, I want it in the game? Or
it's a mix. It's a mix of everything. I mean, one thing to bear in mind, that we're not starting this from scratch. We've made these games in the past. We've kicked off concepting and early phases of Medieval 3 a few times, and then pivoted to other things. So there's a body of work that we're kind of building on, that we've built up over the years. We also hire really talented individuals with history backgrounds that already come with a lot of that that kind of research in tow. And yeah, we work with historical consultants as well.
Okay.
We reach out to experts and work with them, collaborate with them on different areas of the game, to kind of, so it's a mix of everything. And yes, absolutely, there will be points in history where it's like that we kind of center around and build features to enable it to occur in the game, or be events, or it's everything. It's yeah.
Pawel, this was very interesting and fascinating to see how you're, I guess, changing the way you work to. I don't know if it's adapting or just experimenting with new ways of working.
Yeah, it's really exhilarating and terrifying at the same time, right? I mean, it's completely new ground for us, and we're reacting, we're adapting as we go. But I think it just felt, we all felt like this is the title that we should do this with. It's such a it's our own IP. It's Medieval 3. It's the, like I mentioned a few times now, our historical fans just want this more than anything. It felt like this was the one to do it with, to make sure that we hear everyone's voice in the making of it. So it's crazy, but it's fantastic.
That's great. Pawel, I've got 3 questions for you.
I'm dreading this.
I'm going to read out 3 short descriptions of Total War games.
Oh God. Okay. Okay. Well, no. This should be easy. Okay. No. Okay. Total War games.
Okay.
Well, we'll see. Or maybe not.
Let's
Famous
see.
last words.
Let's see if your marketing department did a good job.
Well, they include Total War in the first sentence in most of the descriptions, I think. So
yes, I got rid of it. All right. First one. Ready?
Yep.
3, 2, 1. Spanning the most turbulent era in Western history, your quest for territory and power takes you through Europe, Africa, the Middle East, and even onto shores of the New World.
Oh, so Empire.
That's Medieval 2.
Oh, Medieval 2. Oh, come on.
Oh, gosh.
Medieval 2 with the Kingdoms. Kingdoms.
The first award-winning series to recreate
Shame.
epic conflict across combining a gripping turn-based campaign of empire building and conquest with stunning real-time battles. This is very generic.
It could be anything. Empire Conquest, I'm going to say Empire.
Three Kingdoms.
Oh, come on, that's too generic. No.
Okay, here, be careful the number. Rally your forces and step into the realm of chaos, a dimension of mind-bending horror where the very fate of the world will be decided. Will you conquer your demons or command them?
Well, this is Warhammer 3.
3.
Yes.
1 out of 3.
Oh, come on, I got the fantasy one. That's shame. Shame. I'm sorry, team. I have failed you.
Thank you for joining us, Pawel.
Thank you. Pleasure.
Pawel, thank you. And we're now going to have a little bit of a break and then back with our guest. Yeah. See you later. Hello, welcome back. Welcome back. I thought this was very interesting today with both guests. And to complete the set, we have our very own Burke Black joining us. Hey, Burke, how are you?
Hey, buddy, how's it going?
I'm fine. How about you?
I'm doing good. It looks like I got my cameras all messed up.
It's okay. You're centered now. You're good. You're
yeah,
good.
there we go.
You're good. I mean, if you don't get the camera right, you're online all day. So you have to get it right, right?
Yeah.
How's things in your corner of the world?
Oh, things are great. Yeah, we've had like a couple good, really big hits in gaming lately, and it's a good time because like right now we're running into like kind of like a slow period. Like the next 2 weeks is not too much that I see coming out or anything. So it's nice to have a little bit of that Crimson Desert to, get lost into for a while. That's quite the game.
Everyone's playing it, and it's really, really good to see how everyone is doing something very different with it. You know, some exploration, some storylines, a bit of everything, really.
A little bit of everything in that game. Yeah. It's got a lot. Absolutely.
Burke, 3 games you brought us today. Let's go with it. What's the first one?
Sure. The Summit game, right?
All right.
I'm gonna butcher its name here, but I think it's called Lesaria Summit Kingdom.
Yeah. Is it a city? It's a city builder, right?
Yeah. Oh, it's basically like, I think it's kind of like like almost like Tibet, where it's like you're up in the mountains and you have to build your society in the mountains. And you have to deal with, obviously seasons, and you have to deal with avalanches from the mountains, and you have to very, very careful about managing your resources because like in typical city builders, you can build yourself into a quick ending. If you try to build too fast and too quick, then you don't have the resources to continue the game, basically. So, it's one of those kind of things. Very, very meticulous, and it kind of has the Anno style of like you have to have a certain group of people, like workers, and then engineers, and then like monks and stuff, and you have to build up for each layer.
All right. So wait, but what happens when the avalanche comes down?
Well, then you're giving people shovels.
All right. Okay. So
it disables buildings.
All right.
And then you have to build a building that cleans the snow out. Yeah, it's neat. It's
really cool.
It's just neat.
Really cool.
We played it for a stream.
I thought it was going to be game over when the avalanche went, but
no, you can dig out of it. They can fix it, but it's just an adorable, chill kind of game. I never felt like I was really stressed. So people that like city builders, that just want something they can relax to, it's pretty good.
That's really cool. Actually, I'm going to give this a try. Is it on PC and consoles too?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's PC. I don't know about console, but I know it's on PC.
It looks really cool. Actually, it looks really neat. Thanks for that. What's next?
Oh, the other one. Let's see. It was Star Trek Voyager Across the Unknown.
Yeah.
Did you have a chance to check that out?
I did. I mean, we had the developers at the hot seat. I think a couple of weeks or 3 weeks before it launched. Very stressed about how it was going to pan out, but it did seem that the game was very successful in the end.
I certainly hope so, because it really kind of tells the story of the show. From point to point to point to point, it tells the story of the show. And some of the more Star Trek Voyager was one of those shows that did a lot of morality, like a lot of they touched on some really good sci-fi kind of storylines that really kind of like the captain. You can agree with the captain, you think that, or you can't. Like some people thought that some decisions that Janeway made were like, wow, that's really dark. I wouldn't have done that in Star Trek, but they addressed those kind of storylines and they put those in the game. And you, the player, can you can disagree with what she did in the show and do your own thing. And the game will continue with that decision. Like, for example, one of the biggest decisions in the show was in literally the first episode. The choice to blow up the thing that brought you to the Delta Quadrant, or leave it and use it to go home. Well, I said, let's go home.
Right.
They rolled credits on me.
Wow. Okay, that's pretty cool. Is it
great.
I mean, is it through dialogue? Is it, and how is it? How's the story integrating with the gameplay? Because the gameplay is sort of a survival FTL style.
Yeah.
You know. So
Yeah.
how does it integrate?
It's very,
with the
very
gameplay?
survival. It's very tough. Like, you know, I mean, I was struggling to keep the ship alive like a few hours in.
Wow.
You know, because things get pretty dramatic with fuel and resources and food and managing the crew and building the ship, you know, repairing the damage to the ship and stuff. So you know, as a strategy game goes, like, it's very rewarding if you can get down the path. And I never even saw the Borg. Like, the Borg are there, but I never got to them because it was just so hard just to get. I'm sure you could tone the difficulty down. I like to play like in the medium, you know. I don't want it to be too easy, but I don't want it to like take my head and smash it up against the wall either. I like right in the middle where it feels comfortable, just enough challenge. And
That's really cool.
Yeah, facing all the sci-fi drama that showed up in Star Trek Voyager, presented in the game, they did a great job of capturing that. So yeah, it's through dialogue. Like, you hear the characters talk and refer to the events that are happening, and then it's up to the player to decide.
Can you still enjoy it if you didn't watch the show?
Oh, yeah. I think you can enjoy it without the show, because it does a great job of narrating what's happening.
Okay.
So, like, even if you have no Star Trek Voyager knowledge at all, you can jump in this as a Star Trek game and just know that a Federation ship is on its own somewhere in the far reaches of space, and you just have to figure it out and survive.
Cool. That's great. Third game?
Menace.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah.
That's
an early access. This game's going to be really special when they get done with it. There's a lot under the hood here. It's a very deep strategy game. It's got like XCOM Long War kind of feel. You know the mod Long War, where somebody took XCOM and turned it upside down into this, you know, a game you could just commit a month to. You know, like you could play it for so long. And this game is basically that and more. I like the style of it. I like the way the units feel. I like the way the graphics look. I like the overarching plot of something worse is going to happen. Like, you're dealing with just kind of like local planets and the politics and all that stuff, but there's something else that's brewing. But you know, it's just they did a really good job with it, and the difficulty. You know, it really feels like, you know, one of the things that me and my chat joke about me is that I really like one life stuff, you know, where it's like you got one life. If you play, and if you die, you got to start over. That character's dead, you got to start new. So it really makes you feel like you really have some gravity to your decisions. You know, you just don't YOLO and throw some units away. You take your time to make sure you do it right. And this game is all about that.
I think, I mean, I don't know what is it missing. Do you think that early access is good enough to enjoy it? Would you wait for playing it? What's your view on that?
No, you can play this now. This has a lot of depth, and like I think what, you know, their end game is what it's probably going to be lacking. You know, you don't know what's going to happen with what they're going to add more to it. You know, more systems on top. But right now, you can play this no problem. All, you know, like it just goes into a repeatable thing, and you can just keep upgrading that ship. You can keep upgrading your units. You can get better. You're going to lose units. You're going to struggle. Most players who probably play this are probably never going to see the end, quote unquote, end of the early access, because they're probably going to lose most of the time.
Okay.
This game's brutal. It is not friendly to you. It will test you and your strategy gaming ability.
Burke, I mean, of course you're going to play some Crimson Desert in the next couple of weeks, but keep keep storing good suggestions for us, because the show is going to be monthly. So I want you to come back and tell us more about your suggestions. Your enthusiasm is unparalleled. So when you like a game, it shows. So thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you for
I
that.
can't contain it. I love gaming, so I love seeing all this stuff. You just had the Total War guy on. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't wait for that too.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and we keep improving the guests that we have here, and the scope of the games as well. So stick with us, and I'll see you next time.
Okay, take care.
Thank you, Burke. Guys, I have to. 2 months ago, we started this sort of awards thing. We wanted to sort of select or elect which ones were the best games of last year. We called it the Hot Seat Awards, and we have a final list of winners. And thanks to our partners and at Strategy and Wargames website. If you want to visit the website of our fellow friends there, we'll be posting a link on the chat. But here are the winners. But the celebration was like this. I'm gonna say the title, and the winner will show on screen. Best licensed strategy game, Dawn of War Definitive Edition. Interestingly enough, this was a game that the success of which no one saw coming, and it just took the internet by storm. And I'm so proud and so happy about this game, because it shows that a good game never dies, and a good solid gameplay never dies, which is great. Best DLC for a strategy game, our very own Battle Sector Deeds of the Fallen. This was released at Skulls Festival last year. This is the first narrative campaign for the game. I have to say that sales-wise, we were very, very, very pleased, and I can see that a lot of you guys out there were pleased with the quality as well, because we got this very good news of the award. Best narrative, Dawn of War Definitive Edition. Thanks for voting for this series of Warhammer 40k games. This is the last one of the Warhammer 40k games in the winners list. Best debut, I think deservedly enough, Master of Command. Just a perfect game from Armchair Historian. Really, really good game. Check it out if you didn't, because that's really good. Best ongoing strategy game, Age of Wonders 4. Age of Wonders 4 has been around for some time. We can't stop playing it, and you guys too. So it's of course deserves this award with the Thrones of Lot DLC, which is the latest one that's been released. And the best strategy game of 2025 was Europa Universalis 5, released towards the end of the year. Didn't make the cut for the Game Awards, but we're making up for it, and this is the final list of winners, and we'll be sending the awards to the winners in the coming weeks. So thanks for voting, everyone. A lot of you voted, and this was fun, and we'll get back to the awards next year, hopefully. So get ready for that. Last few information. Of course, after us talking about all these games from other companies, 2 or 3 minutes to talk about Slitherine projects. We've had a very busy month of March so far with 2 releases. One is the release of Rule the Waves' first expansion. It's called Expanded Battles, Rule the Waves 3 Expanded Battles. Rule of Waves 3 is, I don't know if you know it, I don't know if you're familiar with it, but it was one of our most successful games, I think now 3 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago. It's a complex game. It's a game that's made for fans of war games, but it's sold so well, we decided to make a DLC for it. Again, one of these games is so big you don't really know what to make a DLC for. So the developers came up with this very cool battle system that expanded battles give you access to. The release was last week. Sorry, doing very, very well, just before the spring sale. Standalone game we've released last week too was Headquarters Cold War. They released just ahead of the spring sale too. Headquarters Cold War is of course a sequel or like a successor to the World War II game. Very well received by the fans, and set of course in Eastern Germany during the 80s, 70s and 80s. Two factions, you can play with both the Americans and the Soviets. A really solid, very solid game. There was a release of Nightmare Frontier, Nightmare Frontier Update 2. Nightmare Frontier is in early access now, releasing in 1.0 this summer. This is probably the early access game we're releasing more frequent updates for. Definitely one that's capturing people's imagination, considering the amount of people are streaming it these days. So check it out, and you'll see that 1.0 is not so far. The next episode of the Geek Recipe is releasing in a couple of days. We have the game director of Battlefield 6, Jero Michike, came to cook some Italian dessert called zuppa inglese. So if you want to check that out, it's releasing in a couple of days' time, and coming along on the 31st of the month, the second, or is it the first or the second? DLC for Feel of Glory Kingdoms, Burgers and Bombards. A second DLC, that's for sure. So it's going to release towards the end of the month, so check that out. This DLC, of course, is going to expand to both expand the map, expand the factions. It's got a lot to it. We're releasing it as a big DLC because it took us about a year and a half to make. So big anticipation for that one as well. This was my last bit of information. We have to announce the guests for next episode of the Hot Seat, which is going to be live on April 26th with Philip Bull and Anders Larsson. We're going to tell you more about our guests as we approach the next episode. Again, big names, big games. We love to talk about other people's experience and also share with you a bit of knowledge about how to make games, how we make games, and how games are made. So thank you very much for joining us, and I will see you next month. Bye-bye.